Hi, and welcome back to another episode of the Search Podcast. I'm Elliot Manning, the Managing Director of Cayman Recruitment. We are based out in the UK and the US. Enjoy this week's episode. Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Search Podcast. I'm Elliot Manning. This week I'm joined by Lee Harding. Lee is it's a new move, Lee, isn't it? For North Starr through Harrington Starr. But I'll let you do the introduction and tell us a little bit more about who you are.
Thanks, Elliot. Thanks for inviting me on. So my name's Lee Harding. I'm VP Head of Sales Recruitment at North Starr Recruitment. Is a venture we've just kicked off this year, actually. So I was part of the Harrington Starr group for more than 9 years now, approaching 9.5 years. North Starr is a technology sales-focused recruitment business that we've launched as part of the group. I had the exciting opportunity to help build that from scratch. There's 5 of us
Fantastic.
At the moment with big plans for this year.
So tell me something. Harrington Starr was your first ever job in recruitment? 2011?
That's right.
Done my homework. Yep, fine. So you started off first job in recruitment. How did you get into this wonderful world of recruitment that we're in?
Well, it might be a slightly cliched reason here, but I actually fell into the role of recruitment. I'm sure you've never heard that before. I actually worked for our CEO's brother-in-law selling houses for a few years, which was fun. Didn't really see myself doing it for long term, and I actually got introduced to Toby, who's our group CEO, at an event. And then my former boss suggested I have a chat with him and see how things go in recruitment and whether or not that's something I would be interested in doing. So I've effectively moved within the empire, but gone from selling houses into recruitment. And that's how I found myself. Yeah. So it was really sort of Toby's vision of the business that sold me that it would be a good move.
Did you have a plan set out when you joined the business of recruitment? I'm going to build and be successful for the first couple of years, but I do want to go into more leadership. Did you have those aspirations to do something further down the line, or were you kind of not sure on kind of the path that you wanted to take at the time when you joined?
I wasn't sure really. I'd been told by someone that you could earn good money in recruitment, and you could do it without having to work the Saturdays that I was doing selling houses. So I'll be completely candid that was really my initial motivation. Once I was in recruitment, I actually had a pretty rocky start to recruitment. I didn't it didn't click as quickly as I've seen it now with lots of people that have joined us.
Yeah.
But after a few years, I did realize where the business could go. In the early days of Harrington Starr, it was phenomenal growth. See the year growth curve a lot steeper than you do once you're 10 years old. It typically happens with most companies. And I quickly saw that there were going to be opportunities. The first sort of, you mentioned going into management, the kind of path for me to management was when I was doing change recruitment, and there were 2 of us at sort of a senior level doing change, and it's quite obvious that we only needed 1 person to manage that team. And we didn't really have, aside from 1 person kind of doing a bit of sales recruitment, but we didn't have anyone doing sales recruitment. So that was a logical path for me to go down.
Definitely,
and it's what I've been doing ever since.
So we've gone through the setup in terms of where you wanted to be and going through that sales and technology route, which is excellent. But where did you get your motivations to be a leader? That's what this podcast is all about, is people that have taken on that leadership route and wanted to go down, I suppose, that path. But for you, what gave you that insight to leadership and management? Did Toby help you with that? Was there someone else that kind of pushed you in that direction, or?
I think our original career path was quite geared towards leadership. So it was almost a default route. So we've since kind of offered some different routes, the accounts route and sort of the non-managerial routes. But at my stage of going from senior into the next levels, it was the default route. But saying that, I also, when I was doing non-managerial recruitment, I did always think to myself that there were kind of elements of the way that I work that I would like to pass on to other people. We've all seen how badly recruitment can be done, and you find yourself competing with people that do the job quite badly, and you just think to yourself, I think I could take people with not a huge amount of experience or no experience and just teach them to do things the way that you do them, and then hopefully they'll develop even better, and their own skills and way of doing things as well on top of that.
Did you have any challenges? Did you find at some point, you know what, I can't do this. This is too much for me. I can't concentrate on my billing. I can't manage. I cannot do everything all at once. And kind of, I feel like everyone's gone through that and goes through that. But is that something that you found as a, a hurdle that you had to get over?
Well, I'm glad you said that, because it just confirms that it wasn't just me.
No.
Yeah, absolutely. When you're first learning the ins and outs of management, you realize there's a lot more to it. You're dealing with personalities, very different motivations, different skill and ability levels. There's a huge amount that really you're not massively prepared for. And you're right. I was effectively trying to do everything I'd done before in terms of billing, so not let that drop, whilst trying to manage a profitable team. By hook or by crook, I kind of managed it reasonably well, but probably with more staff turnover than you want. But yeah, it was tricky, and it still is tricky, but you just get better at managing a time, and there's been great support from Toby and the rest of the management in sort of refining those skills.
So I'd like to know if you had any tips or advice for anyone out there in recruitment that is in that position of management, and what do you think is the way around the struggles and the challenges? How can you be a strong billing lead where it doesn't affect your work, but at the same time give your time to a team of 3-10 people, however many it is? What works for you, and what maybe doesn't work for you?
I would say seek advice. I probably didn't ask for enough help as I should have at the start. So seek advice. And also, one of the big lessons that I had to learn was that you can't be there for every single activity that your team are doing. So definitely. if you insist on being involved in every single aspect of their day, then don't be surprised when you get asked questions about every single aspect of the day, and then you find yourself doing nothing more than answering questions on, is this okay, or am I okay to do that? Sometimes it's better just to let people try, fail, learn from it, and let them understand that you don't mind them going out there and giving things a try. And then you coach and support on top, rather than trying to micromanage. For me, that's the only way you're going to be able to manage billing and management in one go.
Definitely. It's all about that kind of, you've got to fail to succeed kind of thing, and learn, and and I suppose fall over and get yourself back up and all that, which I know these are all sayings that we've seen and heard many times, but it's true. I know it's not ideal in the past 12 months to be in that position, because it's a lot harder to pull yourself back up, but it's part of being successful and getting from A to B. How have you found everything over the last 12 months, COVID, pandemic, management, being in a position that you're in? I mean, I suppose the positive out of it is that you're now launching this new, this arm of the business a lot, bigger and better. So what's the journey been like for you?
Yeah, it's same as everyone. I think it's been a little bit strange. I'm in a fortunate position in the situation we find ourselves in, that I don't have kids, and I've actually got pretty minimal responsibilities outside of work. So I know for people who've got kids how tricky it's been, and I do appreciate how tough it's been for them. But last year was pretty good. It was my second best year for billings in my career. And I've been asked for a few times, how did that happen? I think when I realized what was going to happen, or what was happening with the pandemic, I just doubled down on everything. I thought, well, either you accept defeat here, or you double down and really give it a good show, a good shot. And then it worked out pretty well. I mean, the only frustrating thing is you realize how much more you have in the tank in the good years.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit frustrating, but it was actually a good year. We won some new clients. We had, I think, 4 or 5 multi-placement companies last year that we worked with. And the carryover was the start of this year has been really good.
Brilliant.
So it's been challenging. The spare bedroom here is getting a little bit boring, and I'd love to be out and about more. But
yeah,
all things considered, it was actually a pretty good year for business.
Do you, with the team that you've got that you look after with North Starr, how have you found looking after those guys and girls, around this whole virtual leadership management, doing everything on Zoom? Have you found that quite easy? Did you have to change anything in particular to make it work?
Well, I mean, I've gone from not using video at all to using video all day, every day. So, yeah. I mean, I think it wasn't too hard actually to kind of make the transition. It would just be better to have a bit more sort of FaceTime with the team. We try and do sort of our drinks on a Friday, and we try and do some more sort of casual catch ups and meetings in the mornings, just so we're not talking business all day every day. But it still doesn't come close to having drinks at the pub or whatever with the team. So it's been okay, but you much like with your clients, you're not going to build the relationships that you want to over Zoom. We're fortunate enough that I haven't onboarded anyone since we've been virtual. I'm working with a team that I recruited, interviewed, onboarded, trained face to face. So I haven't actually had that challenge to go through yet. So it'd be interesting to see how I manage that when it happens, which hopefully won't be too long.
No, of course. I mean, do you plan on going back into office? Are you guys remote at the minute? What's your setup right now?
We're all remote. We've had a few attempts at going back into the office, sort of mid to end of probably Q3, Q4 last year. At the moment, the plan is to stay working from home until it makes sense to go into the office. I don't think we haven't put a date on going back in yet. But the office is open for the people who struggle because of space at home and kids and all of that stuff. The office is open if people want to go in.
Fine. You were saying before that it's nothing like what we do now is as good as, or it's not the same as working in office around the people, pubs, etc., culture, social. Do you miss it? Are you kind of at that point now where you're fed up of being at home, or are you quite happy? Do you think it's going to continue long term? What would you like to see out of it?
So back when times were normal, I enjoyed my day a week working from home, and now I'm definitely enjoying working from home, but I would like the mix. So for me, it would be 1, 2, 3 days a week in the office, or that flexibility. If you've got a day where you're not meeting clients or you haven't got meetings, I just don't think it makes sense to do the commute. So that looks like what we're going to be doing: flexible working and making sure that we're together as a team on certain days, but then giving people the flexible to do what they want. So I think for me that's one of the best changes. But I also recognize that recruiters, along with all the salespeople that I place, they're working on relationship capital that's been built up over years. So you've got to remember the client relationships that you've got now were built from years of face-to-face interaction. So you do have to recognize that if you don't get back to that, you might see client relationships tail off over the coming years. So for me, it's important to have some time in the city. Yeah.
Fine. What, I've not asked anyone this question before, so I'm bear with me. What, you being at home, successful, having a really strong billing year last year, I know that you were kind of working that little bit extra and pushing yourself, to beyond. But what motivates you? I think when we were talking before we jumped on the podcast, I was kind of explaining that a lot of people are potentially not as motivated as they could be, trying to, I suppose, save for things, do things to enjoy and make money to go out and spend, which not many people can do right now. What motivates you and what keeps you driven working from home, in this current scenario that we're in?
It's an interesting one because I can honestly say that I don't need to be shooting for a goal to be successful. I know each day I've got an instinctive feeling whether or not I've had a good day or I've had a bad day, and I just don't enjoy the days where I sign off knowing that I haven't had a good day. So part of it is just motivated by enjoying what I do and being successful in what I do. That said, was due to get married last year, so I'd been saving for that. That's been postponed. We were planning to move house this year. That's been postponed. So there are actually a few things to be saving up for. But I can honestly keep myself motivated without the next thing to buy or to save up for. It's just enjoying what you do and knowing you're doing a good job.
Fine. So would you say, and this is a difficult question to potentially ask, do you say that if people are working in recruitment and potentially not enjoying what they're doing, not feel motivated every day by doing it, they need to look into that a bit more? Or would you just say that everyone's different? I'm kind of putting all the pressure onto you to answer that.
Yeah. Do you know what? I'm glad you asked that, actually. I mean, I can see the people that go through, and unfortunately, I don't have anyone doing this on my team at the moment, but I have seen in the past people going through the motions. I need to find a CV. I need to send the CV. I've got to get these interviews. And it's a case of I need to do this. And then, oh, great, there's a reward at the end of it. Our CEO, Toby, always talks about how recruitment is overlooked compared to other professions like legal, medical, whatever it might be. It's somewhat overlooked, but we are helping people with one of the most important things in their life, and that is their careers. People talk about family and health and all these things, which are massively important, but careers are up there. It might not be your top 1 or 2, but it's definitely going to be the top 3, 5 in people's lives. And knowing whether or not you get the recognition or thanks for it, it doesn't matter to me too much, because I know that I'm putting people in good jobs, moving their careers. I've placed many people that weren't looking for a job that I approached, and lo and behold, weeks, months later, they're in a better paying, better, more enjoyable job. So for me, I take a lot of pride in the fact that what we do changes people's lives for the better. And that's an important thing to remember in recruitment, I think.
That's a good answer. I was keen to know, and talking to you, you've brought out these questions, that I'd like to ask, I suppose. So, I want to go into the next thing, which is more about North Starr. What are the plans? Where are you guys at for 2021? What do you want to achieve? If anyone's listening to this podcast that are in recruitment that focus on the tech sales space, are you going to be hiring? What's the scope looking like?
Yeah, so there's 5 of us at the moment. We're focusing on technology sales recruitment, and it's massive. I mean, the reason we wanted to do that is because the scope of opportunity warranted an entirely separate business. For us, we are getting settled in. We had a great first month. We actually exceeded our target on our first month, and we're in good shape for February as well. So whilst the short-term results are good, this is a long-term play for us. We want to build something based on communities, which we have 3 communities at the moment for senior professionals, leadership, and CEOs in the tech space. And we're building a business that, first of all, offers something. So this is putting people in contact with their peers and people that can help develop their businesses. And in return, they would use us for recruitment. So we're kind of not going out there with the whole sort of have you got jobs sort of model. We're going out there with this is what we can offer you. And we're not pressing people to give back. If they want to, they will. But so far they've been very keen to work with us. So it's been great.
Brilliant. So do you have aspirations to grow and double in size? Have you got that kind of mindset right now? Is it just a month by month, head down, let's focus on what we've got kind of thing?
We haven't actually put a headcount plan together, because the main reason being that from experience, it's hard to tell. You don't know if the first 3 people, additional 3 people you hire will work out, or if they won't, and you end up hiring another 3 people. You don't know how quickly people are going to take to recruitment. So we haven't actually put that pressure on ourselves. we will grow. We will. There's the recruitment side, the marketing side, the business development side. This year, I can't see us doing anything but growing, and I'd imagine it will probably be at least double the headcount. But we're not putting the pressure on a fixed. We need to hire X number of people a quarter.
Yeah, fair enough.
Which is, I think, is a good approach for us.
No, definitely. And I think a lot of businesses, especially a lot that I've seen, get caught up with, we need to be at this head count and double and triple in size by this point and that point, whereas I feel like, I don't think it's just because of the pandemic. I just feel like recruitment's a very unpredictable space to be in. And, I feel like it should and could be done generally just on a month by month basis and just kind of see how things pan out. If you want to, which you've mentioned, aim to double in size, you will, but it doesn't need to have, as you said, a time frame on it, which is perfect.
I've hired in the past to try and sort of say, right, if we add more people to the team, that will kind of force us to upscale the business faster. But then you find that you're causing problems for yourself. So it's not something I think we would do going forward.
Fine. Lee, I think that's kind of it, mate. I've got so much information. I've got a whole A4-page worth of notes here on this call. I've learned a lot about you, who you are, and how you work and what you aim to achieve. And I feel like the conversation that we've had about the motivation and that kind of thing is really helpful. And I think a lot of people that listen to this, can, I suppose, question, their priorities and make sure that they know what they want and where they want to be to get the most out of what they're doing. But Lee, it's been really good to get to know you, mate. I know about the business. Harrington Starr as a company is fantastic. North Starr I know about. I think I learned about North Starr from a US perspective, a while ago. So it's fantastic to see it kicking off really well. I hope you have a really successful year. I know you will. And if anyone is listening to this podcast and would like to get some more information, reach out to Lee. If anyone's in tech sales and looking for something bigger and better at some point in 2021, let me know. Go to Lee. His details will be on the podcast links. So feel free to reach out. But again, thank you very much for your time. And I'm sure I'll catch up soon.
Yeah, thank you. Cheers.
My pleasure. Speak to you shortly.